am Megan Fox, and I'm voicing Natara.
Welcome to MojoPlays, and today we're taking a look at the 10 biggest controversies that Mortal Kombat has ever faced.
You, fight!
Before we begin, we publish new videos all week long, so be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos. Stop and swap in Never Again.
Can you overcome my sorcery?
Variant movesets have been a somewhat divisive mechanic in the franchise, most notably in MKX and MK11. The former gave players 3 different versions to play as in each fighter, although some variants would prove to be borderline broken, such as the Xenomorph's acidic variant. As for the latter, MK11 gave players the ability to customize their main's moveset with certain interchangeable moves. Unfortunately, this focus on diverse playstyle wound up being contentious among players, as it was widely seen as a meaningless feature. What else would you expect in a multiplayer game where players optimize the fun out of the game? You want everybody to use different builds? No, they're going to go with the one that's supposedly unbeatable. Quantifying quantity with questionable quality. Mortal Kombat Armageddon is the game many fans love, but just as many fans hate. On one hand, you have a game that features literally every single Mortal Kombat character in the franchise's history. On the other hand, much of the roster was built on reused assets between each other, with kits that were severely lacking anything unique. And when you can outfit a custom fighter with certain moves that causes them to break the entire game, Armageddon becomes a complete joke. At least the Mortal Kombat side mode was kind of fun, right? It's in us all. Mortal Kombat has long had issues when it comes to government intervention. We'll get to that one case in due time, be patient. But even in the 2000s, Midway ran into some turbulence during marketing for each new game. One instance was when Deadly Alliance was making the rounds in the UK. Midway wanted to run a commercial where normal people were making normal interactions, only to reveal that they had blood on their hands. Well, the Advertising Standards Authority took umbrage with the commercial, claiming that it condoned violence. It didn't help that the commercial displayed the tagline, "It's in us all," referring to the need for violence and bloodthirst within humanity's most primal core. The ASA would go after Midway again during the marketing cycle for Shaolin Monks after a more explicitly violent commercial aired on UK televisions.
I can actually explain that.
Fight!
Some say the game is still finding a match today. Is it safe to call Mortal Kombat 1 the worst game in the franchise since Armageddon? Or maybe the worst game ever in the franchise's history? Look, NetherRealm, if you didn't want to do a proper Crypt, fine. If you really wanted invasions to be the main game mode, fine. But the least you could have done was integrate a functioning netcode. One of MK1's biggest issues was just how long it would take to find a match. We aren't just talking a minute or two of queue time. It was much more egregious than that. Notable fighting game streamers found themselves sitting on a finding match screen with nothing to do for 10 to 15 minutes at a time. Sometimes way longer than that. Considering Tekken 8, Street Fighter 6, and Guilty Gear Strive were fighting games for players in less than a couple short seconds, MK1 had effectively killed any and all interest the public could have had if the game had met its competitors' matchmaking times. Or, you know, at the very least, give us something to do while we're waiting for a match. You know, easy stuff. Crypt conundrums. Speaking of crypts, MK9 and MKX had really compelling iterations of this means of unlocking content. Whereas MK9 encouraged exploring for secrets, MKX made a whole mini-adventure game out of it where you used weapons and solved puzzles to access other areas for more unlockables. So, what happened with MK11? Well, for some reason, NetherRealm Studios and Warner Bros. Games decided the Crypt needed to be less satisfying. Why else would you implement randomized rewards, integrate 3 different currencies, and make unlockables grindy as all hell? It wound up making MK11 a massive slog to sift through, especially if you just wanted cosmetics for your main. And what about MK1's Krypt? Oh, well, we didn't get one. We instead got a shrine that you just sat and watched your money burn in for, once again, randomized rewards. What fun! Risque risks.
Where are the Elder Gods, Raiden? Their pathetic Mortal Kombat shackles me no longer.
We will champion the 2011 Mortal Kombat reboot for its story and wealth of game modes to enjoy. However, one criticism that comes up every once in a while are the designs of Kitana, Jade, Mileena, and Sonya Blade. All 4 MK ladies were given outfits that barely covered anything. For Mileena, it makes sense. But when you have Jade using her staff for a bit of pole dancing and Sonya wearing nothing else underneath her vest, many individuals began to ask about the logic behind some of these designs. Sexy is one thing, but at least try to make it make sense with the rest of the cast, which are dudes in full armor and gear, ready for combat. At least Sonya's alternate costume made more sense in a army woman in casual clothes sort of way.
You will learn respect.
A celebrity is amongst us.
Hi.
When a celebrity makes their presence known within the space of a video game community, it can be an exciting thing to experience. We know these people for other things, but they have the same interest as we do? There's something cool about that. Unfortunately, some really just phone it in, and Ronda Rousey and Megan Fox were definitely questionable casting decisions. In MK11, Rousey played as Sonya Blade, but lacked any meaningful delivery in her short amount of screen time. In MK1, Fox voiced Natara for maybe a page or 2 worth of lines, and it was some of the worst, most monotone voice acting we had seen in recent years. Look, we won't make assumptions here, but if you were really jazzed about being a part of a new Mortal Kombat game, like you said in the PR cycle, one would hope that you would give your performance your all, and neither of them did. But hey, at least Chris Cox got better with his Arnie impression between MK11 and MK1. He was really good as Conan.
Because we did all grow up playing the game, and it is one of the greatest video games of all time.
Stereotypical reinforcement. In the 90s, Mortal Kombat came under heavy scrutiny from politicians and activists, not for the violence, but for its portrayal of Asians and women. We'll get to the bigger case soon. We're getting there. A handful of outspoken activists accused Mortal Kombat of perpetuating the stereotype that Asians knew martial arts, which then publisher Acclaim Entertainment would argue against, saying, quote, "This is a fantasy game with all different characters," end quote. As for the feminists claiming that Mortal Kombat was some sick male fantasy, the movement went so far as to try and get the game banned in Indiana via a sexual discrimination case in 2000. Judge Richard Posner ultimately ruled against the plaintiff, stating that Ultimate Mortal Kombat 3 featured women as, quote, "fully capable of holding her own in violent combat with heavily armed men. It thus has a message, even an ideology, just as books and movies do," end quote. Since then, Mortal Kombat has been known within the FGC for having a more sizable female player base than most other fighting games tend to garner. The work culture of NetherRealm Studios. Soon after the release of MK11 in 2019, developer NetherRealm Studios came under fire by both current and former staff members of the company for an unhealthy work environment. Of course, almost all of these people remained anonymous. Even so, the allegations were of very serious matters, ranging from accusations of imposing crunch time to the lack of caring about the mental health of employees who were working on the more graphic portions of each game. One staff member claimed to have suffered from PTSD and experienced lucid, violent dreams after work. A few years later, more staff members and contractors would reveal that NetherRealm Studios was frequently underpaying in lower-level positions like quality assurance and software engineering, key positions that help ensure the game is working as intended. Neither NRS nor Warner Bros. Games have spoken on the matter, and to this day, some alarming Glassdoor and Indeed reviews will gain traction here and there. The Birth of ESRB.
I want to show you what we're talking about. What you're about to see are scenes from two of the most violent new video games. First, we have Mortal Kombat.
And we're finally here. As many folks familiar with their gaming history are already aware of, Mortal Kombat played a heavy hand in the creation of the Electronic Software Ratings Board. As Mortal Kombat grew in popularity, parents, educators, activists, and politicians became more and more concerned about how the game was possibly affecting kids. In 1993, United States Senators Herb Kohl and Joe Lieberman attempted to bring video game violence to Congress's attention, claiming games like Mortal Kombat, Doom, and, oddly enough, Night Trap could affect a child's behavior in a severely negative manner. Not only was then MK publisher Acclaim Entertainment called in for hearings, but so were Sega and Nintendo, console manufacturers who were known to have different censored versions of Mortal Kombat on their hardware. Congress ended up giving the gaming industry an ultimatum: figure out a way to regulate itself and mitigate kids from playing violent games, or the United States government will regulate the industry themselves. And so, the ESRB was formed. Which of these controversies shocked you the most? Let us know down in the comments, and be sure to subscribe to MojoPlays for more great videos every day.